What drove a Viking raider to leave the safety of his homeland and risk everything on the open sea? Was it greed, glory, or something deeper? To understand the Viking mind, we must step into their world. A world of gods, monsters, and unbreakable codes of honor. This is not just a story of raids and conquests. This is a journey into the mind of a Viking raider, as revealed through Old Norse Chronicles, sagas, and the artifacts they left behind. What made them fearless in the face of death? What did they believe awaited them in the afterlife? And how did their worldview shape the course of history? Let's find out. The Viking Age, spanning from the late 8th to the 11th century, was a time of exploration, conquest, and cultural exchange. But to truly understand the Viking raider, we must look beyond the battles and the longships. We must explore their beliefs, their fears, and their ambitions. The Old Norse Chronicles, sagas, poems, and historical accounts give us a rare glimpse into their mindset. These were men who believed in a pantheon of gods, a world filled with magic, and a destiny written in the stars. They were driven by a complex mix of honor, ambition, and faith. Today, we'll uncover what it meant to be a Viking raider, not just in battle, but in life and death. To understand the Viking raider, we must first understand their world. Scandinavia in the 9th century was a land of harsh winters, rugged landscapes, and limited resources. For the Vikings, the sea was both a barrier and a gateway. Their iconic longships, with their shallow drafts and sleek designs, allowed them to navigate rivers and oceans alike. These ships were marvels of engineering, built using the clinker method, overlapping planks fastened with iron rivets. They were fast, agile, and perfect for both raiding and trading. But the Viking raider was more than just a sailor. He was a warrior, a farmer, and a trader. He lived in a society where honor was everything, and where a man's worth was measured by his deeds. The sagas tell us of heroes like Ragnar Lothbrok, who sought fame and fortune through daring raids, and Egil Skallagrimsson, a warrior poet who embodied the Viking ideal of strength and cunning. Yet, the life of a raider was not for the faint of heart. It was a life of constant danger, where death could come at any moment. But for the Viking, death was not the end. It was a gateway to the afterlife, and it was this belief that shaped their actions on the battlefield and beyond. At the heart of the Viking raider's mindset was a deep belief in fate. The Norse concept of Weird held that every man's destiny was preordained. This belief gave the Viking raider a sense of fearlessness in battle. After all, if your fate was already written, why fear death? But fate alone did not drive the Viking raider. Honor and glory were equally important. The sagas are filled with tales of men who sought to make a name for themselves through daring exploits. As the Havamal, a collection of Old Norse poems, advises, "Cattle die, kinsmen die, the self must also die, but glory never dies, for the man who is able to achieve it." For the Viking raider, death in battle was not a tragedy, it was an opportunity. Those who died bravely were believed to be chosen by the Valkyries, the warrior maidens of Odin, and taken to Valhalla. There, they would feast and fight until the coming of Ragnarok, the end of the world. This belief in a glorious afterlife made the Viking raider a formidable opponent. But the Viking raider was not just a mindless berserker. He was also a strategist, a trader, and a diplomat. The sagas tell us of raids that were carefully planned, with scouts sent ahead to gather information and alliances forged with local leaders. The Viking raider was as much a businessman as he was a warrior, seeking not just plunder, but also trade opportunities and new lands to settle. Yet, for all their ferocity, the Vikings were also deeply superstitious. They believed in omens, charms, and the power of the gods. Before a raid, they would often consult the runes or make sacrifices to Odin, the god of war and wisdom. They carried talismans and amulets for protection, and their weapons were often inscribed with runes to grant them strength in battle. The Viking raider's life was one of contrasts: brutality and beauty, fear and faith, life and death. To understand him is to understand a world where the lines between myth and reality were often blurred. But the Viking raider was not always on the battlefield. At home, he was a farmer, a craftsman, and a family man. Viking society was deeply communal, with extended families living together in longhouses. These structures, made of wood with turf roofs, were warm and durable, designed to withstand the harsh Scandinavian winters. Inside the longhouse, life revolved around the central hearth, where meals were cooked and stories were told. The Vikings were skilled craftsmen, creating intricate jewelry, weapons, and tools. They were also master storytellers, passing down their history and legends through sagas and poems. Despite their reputation as fierce warriors, the Vikings placed a high value on cleanliness and grooming. They bathed weekly, combed their hair daily, and took great pride in their appearance. Archaeologists have found combs, razors, and even ear picks in Viking graves, evidence of their meticulous grooming habits. The Vikings were also surprisingly eco-conscious. They lived in harmony with their environment, using natural resources in sustainable ways. Their longhouses, with their turf roofs, provided excellent insulation and blended seamlessly into the landscape. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Viking culture was their legal system. The Vikings had a complex set of laws, enforced by local assemblies known as things. These assemblies were democratic in nature, with free men gathering to settle disputes and make decisions for the community. The Vikings' respect for law and order extended to their treatment of women. While they were a patriarchal society, Viking women enjoyed more rights and freedoms than their counterparts in other cultures. They could own property, divorce their husbands, and even participate in trade and craft. The Viking raiders' mindset was shaped by a unique combination of beliefs, values, and circumstances. Their fearlessness in battle, their thirst for glory, and their belief in fate made them one of the most formidable forces of their time. But their legacy extends far beyond their raids. The Vikings were pioneers, explorers, and settlers. They established trade routes that connected distant cultures, and their voyages to places like Iceland, Greenland, and North America expanded the known world. Their influence can still be seen today in our language, our literature, and even our pop culture. But perhaps their greatest legacy is the way they challenge our understanding of history. The Viking raider was not just a warrior. He was a complex, multifaceted individual driven by a unique worldview. By exploring his mindset, we gain a deeper appreciation for the richness and complexity of the Viking Age. If you enjoyed this journey into the mind of a Viking raider, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let us know in the comments, what other historical figures or cultures would you like us to explore? Until next time, Skal.